It's time for The Story Behind the Person, featuring lively, in-depth conversation with compelling guests from our community. And here is our host, Jonathan Van Bilsen.
Hello and welcome to this episode. My guest today is Karey Anne Large, the Executive Director for the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. We're going to learn all about what the Chamber does, what it does for you, and what it means to be in charge. We'll also get a glimpse into the life of Karey Anne, a person who has worked hard to become the top person at the Scugog Chamber in this North Durham community. We'll be right back after these messages.
It's about your brand, and at PP Print, we can help create promotional products and apparel that will put you above your competition. PP Print, more than just print.
Top care with top stylists. Book your next hair appointment with Port Perry's award-winning hair salon, Rosario Greco Styles. The hair experience you deserve. Book today. Call 905-985-0099.
Welcome back. As I mentioned, my guest today is Karey Anne Large, the Executive Director for the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. Karey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
So, changing jobs is usually a stressful type of thing. Changing jobs in a pandemic is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Yet it's something that you did. You made your way all the way to Port Perry as the Executive Director of the Scugog Chamber. Congratulations.
I did. Thank you so much.
So, I was at the last meeting that the Chamber had, the annual general meeting that they just had, which was the first in-person meeting, and which, of course, you were in charge of. You ran it. You did a great job. It was a fantastic event. Planning that must have been fun, being that it was new to your job, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was interesting to finally meet in person all the people that I've been hearing about or talked to on the phone or have only seen over Zoom. So being able to actually really put those faces to those names was really, really special.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was at least 90 people there, so that's great.
Yeah, it was a great turnout.
So I wanted to talk a little bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about you and how you got to this position, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the Chamber itself. I'm not sure if a lot of people know exactly what a chamber does. So there's the Chamber, there's the Business Improvement Association. Yep. What would the difference be?
So the BIA, or the Business Improvement Association, their job primarily is to make the area that all of these businesses do business in, make their area better. So they're bound by geographical boundaries, and they're also bound by a mandatory levy that's put on everybody's property tax bills. A chamber is a voluntary membership, and we extend for the entire township of Scugog. And we exist to advocate for businesses, give businesses more networking opportunities, really try to make them better as opposed to the area as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand, I was surprised to learn that you have over 240 members, which is fantastic for a small community.
Yeah, it's grown quite a bit during the pandemic. Obviously I came on in October of last year.
Right.
And we saw about 15 to 20 new members last year. And this year so far, in the first 3 months, we're at 15 new members again. So it's growing. It's definitely growing, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you. You're born in the east side of Toronto.
Yep.
Your mother worked for Manulife.
Yep.
Your dad was an electrician and a farmer.
Yes.
Now, it's a combination that I'm not familiar with. I don't know a lot of farming electricians. I'm not sure how. So how does that happen? How does one become an electrician and a farmer?
After my mom had me, she decided to stay home and raise me. So my dad had to do something else to sort of pick up and make the ends meet. So him and his brothers got together and they started their own farming business and started farming sweet corn and cattle corn. And I remember as a young girl, we used to always go to the Pickering flea markets and sell our corn at the Pickering flea markets. So so he did both for a very, very, very long time.
Now, I've been to the east side of Toronto a few times. There's not a lot of farming there. So I'm assuming that the farm wasn't there. No,
he would, so when I was young and when I was 11 months old, they still lived in East York. Okay. And he would commute out here to Whitby to farm. Whitby, Ajax, he had some farmland, and in Oshawa, he had some farmland. So he would make that commute out here to...
And he obviously enjoyed that.
He did, yeah. So much so that they picked up and moved to Whitby when I was 11 months old, yeah.
I found it interesting when I heard that because, I could see, driving for a pizza company or something is a part-time job or that sort of thing. But farming is not something that, certainly not something I would take up.
No.
So you were 11 months old when you moved to Whitby?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then your father continued with the farming life
Yep.
as well as the electrician.
Yep. Yep.
So you went to school there. Now, I've got here that you're not afraid of a little bit of hard work, which obviously what you've done throughout your career proves that. But you also worked as a receptionist for Good Life Fitness for your duration of your high school years and some of your college as well.
Yeah. When I was 15 years old, I got a job as a receptionist at a health club and paid my way through college right up until graduation. So I got my first sort of what I call real full-time job after graduation. Yeah, so I was there for quite a long time.
So the interesting story is that the office building that you're in now in Scugog is it's on Queen Street, 250 Queen Street. That was a building that you have some history with, right?
That's correct, yeah. So when we lived in Whitby and my dad had his farming company, you always knew a guy back then. There was a friend that would help you out and do things for you. And my dad had a friend that was an accountant. And so my mom and I would hop in the car and come up to Port Perry to drop off their taxes. Right. And then, of course, back then you had to come back and pick them up at the end. So we did that. And then we did that for years and years and years and years. And then that accountant eventually became my accountant when I was old enough to do taxes, and then when I started my business, it was my accountant for my business as well, and it was Alex Shepard who owned whose offices were in those buildings. So I'm literally in the same office that we used to come up to all the time when I was a little kid.
And Alex Shepard went on to become our MP, our Member of Parliament for this area.
Yeah,
I do remember that. When you started your own business, you were in need of an accountant. You would then use Mr. Shepard's services, or at least...
Yeah, I figured if my dad could trust him, I could trust him too. So yeah.
Good point. Good point. So
now I knew a guy.
So you certainly knew the business, or the building rather.
Yeah.
Without any question.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was weird when I walked up the first day and I was like, because my interview wasn't at the building.
Okay.
I was off-site. So when I came up to the building on the first day of work, I was like, this is so weird. I'm right back where I was when we used to come up here all the time.
Wow. That building is in beautiful shape. It's been totally restored. It's an old heritage building. It was built just after the fire of 1884, and I believe it was a veterinarian's office at the time.
Yeah, there's a nice plaque right on the front that designates the history of that building. So.
That's great. And for those of you who watched the Santa Claus parade, we actually had the pleasure of standing on the porch of that building to do the commentary for the Santa Claus parade, which was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
So I guess if I need an accountant, that's first I would go to that building and find out.
Yeah, find out who and where they've gone to now, because you don't want me doing your taxes.
Right. So your plan of executive director for the chamber wasn't something that you wanted to do all your life, right? At one point you wanted to go to become a legal administration person.
That's right. Yeah, I went to Durham College. It was one of the very first programs at the time. That was a 3-year program. And it was for legal administration, and it trained you to be a law clerk. So that was what I wanted to do.
Right. And you did that for a while? Or?
I did that for a little bit. I did it for about a year, and
not for you?
Wasn't for me.
No.
It wasn't for me, and I didn't know what I was going to do.
Right.
Had no idea. So
farming wasn't part of the program?
Farming was not part of the plan, no. My dad had probably stopped farming by then.
Right.
Because that's when he got into car racing again, back into car racing. But yeah, I wasn't, farming was not for me.
You had an uncle who started an electrical business, correct?
That's correct.
And that's where you worked to handle the administration of the business?
Yeah, it was supposed to be just sort of an interim thing until I could really figure out what I wanted to do. But
was that in the area where you lived?
No, it was actually back in North York again, at Yonge and Shepherd. So I commuted back there every day, and I just turned out to really love the administration side and the contract side. So my legal degree did sort of help a little bit, because I got to negotiate some of the legal contracts for work. So that was not lost by going to law school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did that for a couple of years?
I think it was probably about 7 years I did that. Yeah, I did that for about 7 years.
Now, you met your husband through that too, right?
I did, yeah. He's also an electrician.
Right, but you didn't meet him through the electrician end. It was
No, I didn't. I actually met him at a bar in Oshawa.
At a bar in Oshawa?
At a bar in Oshawa.
Okay.
And we'll just leave the story at that. But yeah, I met him there.
Is there more of a story there? We should
No, maybe no. That's a whole other show, I think, Jonathan.
So you were married in the early 2000s?
So I was married in 2002, and actually today's our 20th wedding anniversary.
Really? Well, congratulations. That's wonderful.
He put up with me for 20 years.
You went to work in Woodbridge then?
I then went to work in Woodbridge, after I got married, and we started talking about starting a family. I decided to Not really shift careers, but shift where I was working. This was
Right.
a big HVAC company and not residential, but commercial. So we're talking like cooling towers and big office towers downtown Toronto.
Okay.
So I went, did pretty much the same thing over there, more contracts. That's where I sort of started dabbling in bookkeeping and budgeting and
Right.
those sort of aspects of the business as well.
Like an
So-
office management
Yeah.
position type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And HVAC, for those who don't know what it means, it's heating, ventilation, air conditioning, that sort of thing, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
I have to read that.
Okay.
So 2 years after you started there, your son was born.
That's right. He was born on St. Patrick's Day, 2004.
You mentioned that, and I thought it was interesting that both your children were born in Port Perry.
Yeah.
Yet
Yes.
You lived in Whitby,
So at the time, actually, my husband and I had bought our first house, and we lived in Brooklyn.
in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn,
You
so-
lived in Brooklyn, you worked in Woodbridge, but your children were born in Port Perry.
Correct. Port Perry was the closest hospital, and my doctor was actually based out of Port Perry.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me the story about the little hat.
So yeah, after we had Devin, our oldest son, I came to find out that what the Women's Auxiliary at the hospital do is they knit little baby caps for all of the
Right.
all the babies that are born in the New Life Center there, and they knit Devin because he was born on St. Patrick's Day, one with a clover on the top, and yeah, it was kind of cool. So he wore that for I don't know how many days of his first life, but we still have it to this day.
Really, you still have it?
Still have it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Still have it,
That's
yeah.
a nice keepsake.
Yeah,
isn't it?
you know what? It was such a nice feeling to. It was personalized, right? Like
Right.
it wasn't just have your baby and go home. Like I was there for 4 days, and it was just wonderful.
Well, the auxiliary in the
They're
hospitals,
fantastic.
along with the Hospital Foundation in Port
Yeah.
Perry, is amazing.
Yeah,
Because they
they
just
definitely
raised over $4 million for the CT scanner.
CT scanners, yeah,
Yeah, which is fantastic for a community to reach out in that.
yeah.
So we've got about a minute left before our break, so we're going
Okay.
to talk a little bit afterwards about the chamber and so forth. I wanted to get to know you a bit first, which we have certainly done. I wanted to ask you one quick thing because you're into baking, right? You
I
love
am.
baking. And I love eating baked goods, so we have a lot in common there.
Okay.
You had an opportunity to go to Los Angeles on Cake Wars, right?
That is correct. Yes.
So how did that come about?
Well, it's funny. The really quick story about it is we had a phone call at the bakery one day. I wasn't, so I had a retail bakery downtown
Right.
Whitby, and we got a phone call one day. I wasn't there, so one of my staff members took a message for me, and the message was, "You need to return this phone call. Somebody called you about cake boards." So I was like, well, I already have a cake board supplier. I don't really need to entertain this. But I thought, you know what, I'll just call back and see what they've got to offer. So when I called, they picked up the phone. They said, thank you for calling Food Network Cake Wars. So
Slight
thank
difference.
goodness I made that phone call and I returned
kidding.
that call. And they invited me to come to LA and compete on the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was quite the experience, right?
It was, yeah. You get flown out there, red carpet treatment,
Really?
and you get treated like a movie star almost.
And I understand you came in second.
I came in second, yes.
So what kind of cake did you make?
So the theme of the competition was Halo. So for those who don't know,
Good.
it's a
The
video
video
game.
game? Yeah.
The video game Halo, which my kids loved because I had to actually watch them play video games to learn about to make them learn about it. So, but it was Halo, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And we've made friends that I'm still friends with today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure?
It is a lot of pressure.
is.
That clock that you see on TV is 100% real.
It is it?
It is
I wasn't
real.
sure about that because
Yeah.
sometimes they sort of accentuate some of the stress
no,
in that.
it
but
is 100% real.
I can imagine it would be. I'm going to stop you right there.
Sure.
I want to learn more about the cake stuff too because
Okay.
I found that interesting. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about that and the rest of the chamber. We'll be back right after these messages.
At Voss, your independent grocer, it's all about hometown living and shopping. Owned and operated by Port Perry's own Terry and Christine Voss, the independent grocer carries many local items to support our town and its residents.
Hello and welcome back. My guest today is Karey Anne Large, the Executive Director for the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. Karey, welcome back.
Thanks, John.
So you had touched briefly before the break on the Cake Wars.
Yep.
So I'm intrigued. So did you mention you had a bakery?
I did. I had a bakery in downtown Whitby. So back in 2010, actually it started before 2010 really quickly. It started when my son turned 1. I wanted to be that cool mom that made a cool cake for a kid.
Right.
And because he was born on St. Patrick's Day, I wanted a cake that was made in the shape of a clover. But,
Okay.
So in my quest to try to find somebody to do that, nobody would do that. So I thought, well, I'll do it myself. So I did it myself. And
Now, did you have baking experience? Like, did you always sort of
no,
bake?
I burnt my Christmas cookies just a few months prior to that. So, I have those memories, obviously, making cookies with my mom at Christmas time that everybody has. But no, it wasn't something that it was ever a passion of mine. But I got a passion for it after that, and I started taking classes, opened up my retail bakery in 2010.
In Whitby?
In downtown Whitby, in a historic building.
What was it called?
Cake Creations.
Cake Creations?
Yes, with a K.
With a K?
With a K, because my name starts with
Karey
a K.
Anne.
That's right. That's
Perfect.
right. It grew from the basement of my house to its first retail location. Then we outgrew that space, and we moved to another space, again, still in downtown Whitby, but right on the main strip of downtown Whitby.
Well, you were in the Victorian Village.
I was.
I don't know what that area is called. But
Then it was called the Pearson Lanes. Now it's called the Promenade of Whitby.
Okay. It's just north of Dundas, right?
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
That's correct, yeah.
So you outgrew it. You went to a larger place.
Went to a larger place.
Now, I've got a note here that said that it caught on fire.
It did. It did. So back in 2015, there was a very, very large fire in downtown Whitby, 2 doors down from us. There was no injuries, thank goodness. People can't be replaced, things can. So thank goodness nobody was injured in that. But everybody along that strip suffered a pretty significant loss, including ourselves. We lost everything that we had inside. That fire was on a Friday, and we were set to open on the Monday.
Really? That would be depressing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we took some time to regroup and really figure what we wanted to do, and we just happened to find another location that had just come up right around the corner again. So that was back down to base building. It was all kinds of construction and months of rebuilding, but we did, and we finally opened back up again in September of 2015. Under the same name, yeah.
And you also taught cake decorating, did you?
Yeah, I did. I was an instructor at Michael's for a very long time, and I also traveled to teach cake as well. So I've traveled to North Carolina to teach, to Vegas to teach. There is a cake camp in Vegas.
Wow, that would be a tough trip to do.
Yeah. So I taught quite a lot, then.
Are we talking strictly cakes, or did you also do cookies and all kinds of stuff?
Cakes, cookies, full everything. Yeah.
I'm assuming you brought some with us.
They're hidden somewhere for you to divulge into maybe later.
Right. So obviously that keeps you very, very busy running the business and flying to Los Angeles for your Cake Wars episode and so forth. You left the business in 2017?
Yeah.
Just because you've had enough.
It's starting to take its toll. It was a lot.
Self-employment is tough.
It is. It really is. And you're not just responsible for yourself, but you're responsible for a whole staff.
Right.
And you want to see them grow and flourish too. So it was time for them to,
of course,
to find their paths.
You'd like to spend an hour or two at home a week as well, right? With your family, of course.
Yes. Yeah. I used to always say I worked weekends so people could enjoy them.
That's a good way of putting it. So the Whitby BIA started a few years before you left the bakery business, right?
That's right. It actually started, the formation committee, so Whitby didn't have a BIA for about 20 years.
Okay.
But after that fire happened, all the business owners got together and decided that they wanted to maybe reignite those conversations about having a BIA again, to bring everybody together and bring people back to the area that has been devastated now. So,
right. Now, as we mentioned earlier, BIA is Business Improvement Area.
Yes.
And so you then became more involved with it?
Yeah, I sat on the formation committee to help them get it, because it's passed by the Municipal Act, so it's not something you can just decide you want to do. You actually have to go through a whole process and voting, get the buy-in from the geographical area that you define.
Right.
And I helped with that for, I think it was about 3 years it took us to actually get the vote from the members and bring it back.
Membership for the BIA is mandatory,
It is, yes, it is mandatory.
So, and then you became the executive director of the BIA?
Yeah, I did.
Good for you.
I did, yeah.
Good for you. Nothing like...
jumping in with 2 feet, right?
Exactly. So what was that like? Was that fun?
It was a lot of fun, and it was really well received by the businesses in Whitby, because they knew me as a past business owner, and now they saw me in another role where I could really help them.
So you have a lot of...
understand the area and the need and the want to bring people to the area and get their eyes on those businesses. So.
And I'm assuming it's, like Whitby is not a small little town, so I'm assuming the BIA is quite large.
It is. It's about it was about 350 members.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was
Wow,
it was
so
a big geographical area.
I'm
yeah.
sure there's a substantial board of directors too then for it, right?
About 10.
Yeah.
About 10 of us, or not of us, but 10 of them. Yeah.
You were also a member of the Whitby Chamber?
I was, yeah. So as a business owner, I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce there, and
Right.
it definitely helped my business
Is that right?
through connections and networking, and
Okay.
those typical things that a chamber does. So then I got involved and decided to sit on their board of directors.
And then we had this thing called a pandemic started.
And we had a thing called a pandemic start. Yeah.
So why did you want to switch from being executive director of the BIA to joining the chamber full time?
So, as I mentioned before, BIAs work on driving tons of traffic to their areas and to make that area better. And obviously, during the pandemic, I can't draw people in crowds to an area. So it was, that word that we all, I think, hate now, pivot. We had to figure out how do we still stay relevant and keep eyes on these businesses, but not draw people to them. So it was more one-on-one advocacy work with these members,
Right.
lobbying for supports for them at government levels. And
Okay.
I really found I really enjoyed more
Okay.
the one-on-one,
Right.
and more that advocating instead of that event-driven sort of.
Okay, so when the
Aspect.
opportunity in Scugog came up as executive director for the chamber, it was obviously something that was exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting. I wasn't planning on making a career move. As you said, doing a career move during a pandemic isn't something, a lot of people entertain, but I thought, what, let's try it and see what happens. And I've obviously always loved Port Perry. We've been here before, and I thought, let's see if the opportunity can come to fruition. And it did.
So let's talk a little bit about the chamber now. So what exactly is it that you folks do?
So we provide opportunities for businesses like networking so that they can collaborate even with other members. As of recently, we get involved in programs that sometimes the governments will look and to an organization as large as a chamber network to see how that they can get their messages and their information out. So just recently we did the rapid tests.
Right.
That was a way for the government to get those tests into the business's hands effectively. So rapid tests, there's networking opportunities I said.
So you actually obtained a rapid test and you distributed it to your members?
Yep.
Yeah,
and it was all free of charge.
Okay.
So it was a nice value add to being part of a chamber. We also do, e-newsletters. We also have benefit programs. So, small businesses sometimes can't get benefits for their employees because they're so small.
Of course.
So, we partner with an organization that pools everybody together.
Okay.
And allows those small businesses now to get chambers.
Any member of the chamber can join that organization?
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, lots of different benefits. It's being part of your community as well. It's a nice way to stake your name in your community.
And do you have events as well?
We have events as well. So, we've got Business Achievement Awards coming up this year, municipal forums. So we get involved in municipal and provincial debates and forums for those candidates that are, running in our riding. And, we do fun things like golf tournaments and, coffee events and after hours events and, any opportunity that we can find to get those businesses to connect one-on-one.
Right, which is very important because businesses should help each other out.
Absolutely.
During good times and bad.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of collaborations come out of, one-on-one networking.
Right.
Even like for Valentine's Days or Mother's Days, like businesses will think, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Our products and our services go well together. Let's collaborate, and both of us.
Absolutely. Why would you spend
become
your money?
better.
I mean, it's great to have the Amazons of the world out there,
Absolutely.
but it's much nicer to deal with people you know.
Absolutely.
Because they're in the same boat that you are. Right?
Yeah, and
Everybody's trying
collaboration
to-
is key, right?
Absolutely.
We're not all in this. We're all in it together, right? We're not individuals.
I did notice that you've got a all candidates debate coming up
We do.
for the next election.
Yeah, we're
which,
just securing the date, but that's coming up in May.
that'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be good to, because it's an interesting situation in Scugog with new people pretty well running.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's new candidates because, as you know, our incumbent is not rerunning.
Right.
He's not seeking re-election. So
Right.
some fresh voices at the table. So
And then we have a municipal election a few months after that.
yes, we do.
So
yeah,
it's,
so we'll be doing a mayoral debate and a candidates expo for that one as well.
And these will be live, right?
yes.
Unless
They will be live and in person unless the world
Changes.
tells us otherwise. But there's
let's-
a lot of benefit to doing things like this live.
So how does the chamber, I can understand how it benefits members in the business community. What does the chamber offer for the rest of the community, for the public?
For the public. So it's funny because I didn't actually realize this sort of mandate that the Scugog Chamber has, because a lot of chambers are very business focused. Like they don't have that. I mean, they make businesses better, obviously, right. And that's good economic development, and it's a good experience. But Scugog's different in that it has a tourism mandate as well. So we get to do fun things like the Santa Claus Parade, beer festivals. So we get to bring our community together. So we have the business side and we've got the community side, and it's a nice merriment of the both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Santa Claus Parade is put on totally by the chamber.
That's correct.
Enlarged by the chamber.
Yeah, we have community partners that we work with, like the Lions Club and whatnot. But we're sort of the lead organizer.
And from a tourism perspective, because, Scugog is a very touristy town because of the lake and so forth, and a beautiful, beautiful picturesque downtown that they have. What type of plans do you have for bringing more people into Scugog through the chamber? So,
like I mentioned, obviously the Santa Claus Parade is going to happen again this year, and hopefully, no restrictions that'll throw that off course. But that's a long-standing, wonderful one. Beer Festival is back for this year.
Sorry, the Beer Festival?
The Beer Festival is back for this year. And like I said, it was very interesting to me to learn that the chamber actually spearheads that one up here, because that would be typically something a BIA would do, because they draw people to this area. But and I used to run one when I was in Whitby, so it's kind of fun for me. It's the best of both worlds. So anything that we can do to bring our communities together.
And the Beer Festival is what?
It is going to be a selection of craft beers, and we're going to have cider and wine as well for those who don't enjoy beer. August 5th and 6th is the date that we're targeting. Okay. And it'll be down at Palmer Park in the right on the lake.
Great.
Entertainment, food, beer, and just celebrating community.
Just a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And any other events that you can think of that, obviously another golf tournament or so?
Another golf tournament's coming up in August. And
is that open to just the members, or is that open to anyone?
It can be open to anybody. I mean, we obviously like to hope that, anybody that comes out, sees value in the chamber and wants to become a chamber member. But it can come out to anybody. And if they want to join, then
that's great.
We'll gladly welcome them to our fold.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, our time is coming to an end.
Oh, well, thank you, Jonathan. It's been
really
wonderful.
It was really, really nice to learn all about you. The cake wars I thought was interesting. Yeah. And I'm looking for cookies now.
Okay. I mean, chocolate chip is my thing. So
I'm any cookies are good.
Okay.
I would like to thank you for being here, and also for sharing your information about the chamber. I thought it was very interesting, and hopefully that our viewers will now have a much better understanding of what the chamber does. Thank you all for watching. Please join us every month to find out the story behind the person, right here on Rogers TV.